So why do people get sick? Why do God's people get sick? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And there's knowledge, and then there's also will, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little later.
We absolutely will.
Because we have a free will, and we've been given all the knowledge. We can be given all the knowledge, and if we don't have the will, then we don't quite get there. But initially, we're destroyed for lack of knowledge. And when we think of all the programming that goes on, every TV ad almost, it's either pharmaceutical or it's junk food. I mean, it's all about the money. And what's that creating? It's creating more need for pharmaceuticals.
And confusion.
Definitely
and I
confusion.
truly believe that Satan loves confusion. Because one person's going to tell you one thing and you have to believe them because they sound authentic. And then you're going to look at someone else and they're going to tell you something else. And what does that create? Uncertainty. And what does that do? Well, if he can have it, I can have it. Amazing, isn't it? Confusion. One of Satan's many tools.
And it's often a slippery slope.
Oh, it is.
So we start here, and all of a sudden, we're way down the path.
We never knew we got there.
Yeah.
But isn't it interesting? I love this phrase. This is my mantra. People neglect to consider that the sin in the Garden of Eden involved food. And it's the truth. It really is. Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is, here we are thousands of years later, and the sin that's causing many of these illnesses involves food. Some things just never change, do they?
So, is God really using food, as he did back in the Bible, as our temptation to see where we are and trusting him and in our faith? Very well could be.
Lead us not into temptation. So we're well aware of these temptations, aren't we? Obviously, everybody has seen these, heard of these. But what about? Should food be added to that list? How many of us can honestly look each other in the eye and say, oh, hey, I'm good. I know how to eat right. I'm not going to be tempted by any of that stuff. I'd love to see you at the next Thanksgiving party. Amen? I'm no different. Believe me, I'm not. But it's something, so that other list, we feel like we've mastered most of those temptations. But there is one temptation that can hurt us almost to the point of no return, and that is food. Mm-hmm. It really is. So, what did we say before? Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our minds, that we may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. What is God's will? For us to be healthy. What is God's will? For us to be able to continue to work, be his hands, be his feet. And we can't do that unless because we're conforming to the advertisements, because we're conforming to all of these people that are changing their messages. But really the truth is, we've got to conform to where God wants us to be.
So what happens when we get sick? Well, we go to the doctor, and the doctor starts giving all the traditional types of medications or treatments or therapies. And, they might seem normal, but aren't they really radical? When you think about having your arm or open heart surgery or having some kind of a pacemaker put in or having cancer removed and undergoing radiation and chemotherapy, isn't that really radical? I mean, it's our body, the one body that we've been given, and that's how we treat it. God created the organs inside of us because he's got an incredible machine there. You know what I'm saying? The gallbladder has a very important position in our bodies. It's supposed to break down the oils that we're consuming. But it's no big deal when you take the gallbladder out, right? Well, it is. And if you ask anyone who's had their gallbladder removed, they're going to tell you that their life has significantly changed. Why? Because there's nothing that's breaking down the oils. They didn't stop eating the oils, but they don't have anything to properly break it down. Makes a major difference in your body. We want to keep our body parts. Mm-hmm. So, can this be avoided? Is it really possible for us to be able to live this life where 1 out of every 2 people can get cancer? Can we truly avoid this? Absolutely.
Absolutely. There was a study, and it was for 13 years and involved 11,000 people. When you look at the results of that study, it confirmed unequivocally that there were lower rates of people that had disease, cancer, diabetes, all these other things. Also, 20% of them lived 20% longer because they were eating more veggies and less other junk. And that includes, what that means is that their bodies were able to fight off disease. You can do this by virtue of changing what you put in your mouth. The power is on your plate.
We really do have the power. And there's so much evidence, and here's another study.
Yeah, British researchers reviewed 6 studies. They involved 20,000 different people between 30 and 74. And what did they find? That if they had 1 extra serving of fruit and vegetables every day, they would then have a 14% decrease in type 2 diabetes. Could you imagine eating 1 apple extra a day and seeing the results like that? One thing that they did do a lot of, though, is they recommended eating a lot of green leafy vegetables. And I'm going to warn you now, that doesn't include head lettuce.
So that was 1 extra serving. Can you
Yep.
imagine if you had 8 or 9 or 10 servings of vegetables a day? What
Every day?
Every day. What that would do to the immune system. I mean, that's where we're seeing people turn around, is because they're putting nutrition into their body. And we'll talk more about what true nutrition is here a little bit. And this slide here really shows you that when you're doing the taking care of the body, that you'll have significant decreases in heart disease, in cancer, in colon cancer.
And diabetes.
And diabetes.
Yep. Yep. That's just if all you're doing is taking better care of your body.
Yeah.
It is not something that's sanctioned because we're getting older. Old age should not bring disease. So there's another study, and it involved 24,000 women, and it took 8 years for them to complete this study. But this is what we want, what they were going to get into. In 8 years, they had these 7 different parts that had to be worked on. The first one was they had to maintain a normal body weight. Sound easy? It's not. Okay, it's just not, but that's what they were working on. 30 minutes they had to exercise every single day. They had to avoid junk food. They had to eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every single day. They were not allowed more than 18 ounces of red meat in 1 week. They were not allowed to drink more than 1 glass of alcohol for the women, and limited sodium consumption of 2,400 milligrams per day. That doesn't sound too radical to me. Really, it doesn't. I mean, people are kind of like, well, that isn't that bad, is it? These are the recommendations that you would be finding even today from the World Cancer Research Fund and the American Institute of Cancer Research. This study resulted in something fascinating.
The more of these principles that they put into place, the greater the resistance to disease, and the more people recovered. So when people had included one of these things, they had 43% decrease. When they included all 6 or 7 of them, they had a 69% decrease. So the more of these principles that were put into place, the less instance of sickness and disease that they experienced.
And how hard is it to walk 30 minutes in one day? And how hard is it to eat a little more vegetables? It's not that hard. Sounds kind of radical, doesn't it? So, most diseases and sicknesses have a root cause, actually 2 root causes. And tonight we want to tell you what they are, and we want to explain to you very succinctly and very clearly, so that when you leave or when you finish listening to us, you have no excuse because you have the knowledge. So that knowledge then will bring you what you need. So the first of them is toxicity. The reason that people get sick is toxicity and deficiency. Let's start with toxicity.
Toxicity. And you know, in Anne's book, Unravel the Mystery, the first 21 chapters
Yeah, I had hundreds
all
of
about
pages.
toxins. All about the toxins in our environment that are causing our physical problems. And she really breaks these down. And we're going to talk a little bit more in depth in each one of these as we go through the next few minutes.
But air, all right? I mean, you don't have to be underneath an airport to see that the vapor trails are there, all right? I mean, we're talking air pollution. You don't even have to be in a very crowded street in order for you to get all of the stuff from the vehicles and everything. Air pollution is something that is common all over our country and in many, many parts of the world. Sadly, we can't stop breathing. So there are certain things that we just have to recognize. Then from there on, we will have more control over what we can do. Water. Believe it or not, as much as we appreciate having pure water, the chlorine and the fluoride that has been placed in all of our city waters is actually causing some major, major problems for us. And I wish I could get into more detail for you, because if you saw some of the studies that people are getting sick on because of the chlorine and the fluoride, you would probably go back to your dentist and say, don't ever give me fluoride again, because that's what I tell them. There are people in third world countries that have never had a stick of fluoride in their body, and they have better teeth than we do. So we are not having cavities because of deprivation in fluoride. That's how it is. Soil, sadly, things have changed a lot in the last 30, 40 years. The pesticides, the herbicides, and all those other ides that are in the soil are not doing any good for your food. They're definitely not doing anything at all for your body. Personal care products. We love having shiny, soft hair. We love smelling good. Nobody wants to smell badly, heaven forbid. But in all of those personal care products, you're going to find a lot of chemicals. And because those chemicals are very close to your body through your skin or various other places, we're finding that that has a strong correlation with the toxins that are being fed into your body. Home cleaning products. We think that we're going to have this clean product. Oh my goodness, this is good, and it's going to make my house smell so clean. And what is it doing to your liver? Yeah. Dentistry, mercury, root canals, something called cavitations. My golly, we think that we're doing well because we got our mercury fillings out. But how many of us realize that those old extractions from 30 or 40 years ago, whether those are wisdom tooth or other type of extractions, can come back and they can hurt you even worse than a mercury filling can. So understand the importance of toxins and how those toxins in your mouth are going to definitely affect your prostate someday. It is what it is.
Definitely. And while we're not able to go into all the details of so many of these, that it's really important to understand where these toxins are and how they're impacting our bodies. And just a quick example of you with your root canal.
Oh my gosh. Real quick story, but I found a lump on my right breast. How did that happen? I'm a clean eater. What happened? So I went and listened to a dentist. And the dentist said, people that have root canals especially women, you're going to likely have if you're going to develop breast cancer, it'll be on the same side where your root canal is. Well, little did I know that the root canal was actually placed next to the cavitation, in other words, the hole where my old wisdom tooth was extracted 30-some years ago. So when I went in there, what did they find? They found that the area that was all full of toxins and inflammation and poisons was the area where my where my extraction was 30 years ago, and that was right beside the root canal. So they did a nice little surgical. They got rid of the root canal, which you can't always get rid of root canals, but in this particular case it was wise. And they cleaned out the area where I had all those toxins from a 30-something-year-old extraction. And guess what went away? Praise God.
And an hour from the time we left the dentist's office, she says the pain is gone. So there was such a correlation between the toxic from the root canal and the cavitation and her physical symptoms.
Yep.
And people don't realize that we're such a complete being, and that these toxins, sometimes are internal to us, are causing our physical problems.
Absolutely. And as you can see, even more chemicals are found in everything, whether it's in the clothes that we wear, whether it's in the pans that we're cooking in, whether it's even in the mercury from the seafood and the dentist. So we need to be very cautious. Our goal is not to make you fear-filled. Our goal is for you to understand that you will have control in a lot of different areas of your life, and maybe to make you aware of some of those areas that you didn't even know. Dental health is extremely important to your physical health. Here's an important toxin I think all of us need to understand. Spiritual and emotional toxins. And the truth is, I see a lot of cancer people. People come to me all the time because I wrote the book, because we have some experience in our family with cancer, and because we've learned an awful lot. And what I have noted is that through the years that I've met all these people who have cancer, there is one common thread, and it's called negative thinking. Truly it is. Whether it's unforgiveness, whether it's hurt, whether it's anger. I don't really have an answer for all of that because my goal is not to become a psychoanalyst, and it doesn't need to be. All we need to do is to understand that bitterness is drinking a glass of poison and hoping the other person will die. It is the bitterness that is going to cause that to really manifest in your bodies. So please understand, we are not the judges here. We can't be the judges. That's not our jobs.
We met with a leading toxicologist in the country, and he told us, and we heard him tell a patient, until you forgive, your cancer will never go away. And that as long as you have that unforgiveness, there's no way your body can heal from cancer. It was such an amazing dialogue.
And when I counsel people, when I get to this point, it's invariable that when I bring this to the person who has cancer, they begin to cry. It's as if somehow the Lord has led me into their heart to touch a spot that they needed to hear. Because right now they're vulnerable and they don't know what their life is going to bring to them. And it's imperative that we all get to that place where we look into our hearts and we see we have no room in this life for that. There is no room. Ah, the sickness of hurrying.
I tell you, we're all so busy these days.
Did you rush to come here?
Yes.
Did you have a busy week so you could clear your schedule for the next 3 days?
Absolutely.
Of course you did, and now look what you've done to yourself. But praise God you're here. But what is it about stress?
Yeah. And it seems like everything is always coming at us. We can't do it fast enough. And with the internet, it seems like email never goes away. There's always something, we work from home a lot. I mean, we could be working 24/7.
We sometimes do.
There's always pressure. So it's really, it's the hurry sickness.
But did you know that as you continue to allow your body to have that much stress, that you're depleting your body of some very important nutrients? Nobody told you that. I thought that in our country you're supposed to be rush, rush, rush. That says that you're successful. But even God had a day of rest. Uh-oh, toxic foods.
Oh, so we're into
That's
hitting
scary, isn't it?
We're hitting the main point now, aren't we? Well, this is one that we have a lot of control over. Some of the ones we've talked up to this point, we may not have had so much control. This one hits home for most of us, and we can all do something about this one. So we're going to talk about the 5 killer foods and why we need to avoid them. And while this may not be a real popular topic in some places, this first one is meat.
Uh-oh.
That's the first one is animal products and it's meat. And you say, well, why not meat? Well, we have a really good example of why not meat. So let's just pretend that this is your colon.
It is your colon.
Yeah.
This is your colon.
This is your colon, okay?
I bet you never knew you had so much rope in your body, did you?
This is how long your colon is. So when something goes in the mouth, over there, it has to come all the way through and come out over here. You see, I'm the butt of the joke on this one. So when we put something in our mouth, then it has to traverse this whole 26 feet before it can come out.
That's a lot of places to go through.
And some things, like meat, can take up to 72 hours to come out of the body. So what would happen if we took, let's just say some hamburger, and put it on the counter, or it's a steak, people like steaks, and put it on the counter at, what's the temperature of our body? 98.6 degrees? At 98.6 degrees, we put it on the counter for 2-3 days. Wow. Now you know why you have body odor. Seriously. Because that is stuck in you all that time, the body's trying to process it, and it's fighting the whole time to process it. At 98.6 degrees, it's sitting in there and putrefying, is really what's happening. And we need to have 2 to 3 healthy bowel movements a day. Now, this is Ann's favorite topic.
I happen to like talking about poop. Poop is a very important process for me. So, I can't really interact with you, but I want to share with you that a poop is supposed to look like a flexible broomstick. Does your poop look like that? And if it doesn't, then you need to evaluate your health, because your health is what this looks like. It really does. People say your health begins in your colon. If you want to know how healthy you are, after you've done your business, get up and take a look. And the truth is, that's going to tell you what your health is like.
It's really funny in our household.
Um,
Because one of us will go to the bathroom and come back out and we should have taken a picture of it.
I'm so proud of that.
Because, okay, this is a taboo subject, and sorry, Michael, I don't think he knew we were going here.
He may not want us to go
I know,
here.
we may not get an invite back, but it is important because what comes out is indicative of what's going on inside. And so when we're constipated or when we have loose bowels, it's indicative of something not working right inside of us. And we need to start seeing what that is. And one of the primary causes of this is meat, the animal products that we're consuming. So we talked about animal products, the meat, but the other side of that is the dairy.
I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a cheesehead. Love the Green Bay Packers. Don't do well with cheese, though, I must tell you. Cheese is not something that does well for my body. And I understand why now, because the reason why dairy came out is because milk is actually wonderful for a baby cow. But it's really not that good because I don't want to grow up to be a big cow. I would prefer just to leave in the cow's milk with mama and the baby. And that's really my thinking is you don't want to have cow's milk. It's not meant for it. There's too much protein in it. It really doesn't have the right enzymes for your body. And at the end of the day, milk really isn't that good for you.
Unless you're a baby cow, like
That's
a
right.
calf. And so, here we are, we're smart humans, right? But what other animal in the whole animal kingdom drinks the milk of another animal? You'll never see a horse go to a cow or a sheep go to a goat or a donkey go to a horse. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's not natural. But here we are, smart humans. Our mama, she brings us up, she puts us on her milk, breast milk, she weans us, and we say, okay, well, where's the next milk coming from? Well, no, we're supposed to be eating people food, not milk anymore. And so the whole concept, and we pasteurize our milk, and if you took the milk from a cow, pasteurized it, gave it back to the calf would die because it doesn't have what it needs, and it takes all the calcium and all those minerals that are good for it, the calf, and it converts them to forms that the calf can't use. So it's part of our problem, is that we're consuming animal products, extremely toxic for us, and we were never designed. What was Genesis 1:29? Fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts. God's original plan. It wasn't animal products. It just wasn't there.
Another toxin that's very difficult for almost all of us is sugar. We really like our sugar. And the sad part of it is sugar is very, very, very toxic to us. In fact, there are studies that say that's more addictive than cocaine. I've never touched cocaine, but I personally can tell you, sugar is addictive. It's tough. It really is. Mm-hmm. All we can tell you right now is there are many, many studies, and you're seeing more and more every single day, of how sugar feeds cancer. Sugar feeds cancer. End of story.
Sure is. White salt, refined salt. So we go to the table salt, 98% sodium chloride. So sodium chloride is toxic. Now if you go to a Celtic sea salt or a true salt, there's 56 different minerals in there. But when you go to the refined salt, it's sodium chloride. It's primarily poison.
Yep. Flour. Don't you just love those big bagels at Panera Bread? Don't you just love those gorgeous big loaves of white fluff dough? Well, white flour is pretty dangerous for you, really. You put a little bit of water with that, and what do you get? Sticky, gooey glue. And what does that do to your arteries or your colon? So as much as we really do love that white flour, and I won't even discuss all of the different chemicals that are required for it to be bleached so it can look real pretty. So the goal is for us to try very diligently to consider white flour as toxic as sugar, because when you put white flour into your body, it breaks down and it's just like sugar.
Artificial sweeteners. I tell you, this is the secret killer that the FDA and the food industry has really pushed out there on people. The amount of damage that's caused from some of these artificial sweeteners is unbelievable.
Yeah. As much as we'd like to share a whole lot more information about them, just suffice it to say that in terms of artificial sweeteners in your body, it's about as dangerous as you can get. Truly it is.
If somebody was going to drink soda, which we would never recommend, but if they were to drink diet soda, it's 10 times worse than drinking regular soda.
That's how bad it is.
And the studies show that when people drink diet sodas, they actually gain more weight than people who don't drink diet sodas. And there's a study behind that that shows why that happens and how the body actually begins craving more of the sugars. It's really amazing.
So what are the other toxins that are in foods that you and I consume on a regular basis and we don't even know it? Well, you saw Scott's book today, and it's on GMOs. And the hardest part of all is it's very hard for us because our country has chosen not to label the foods that are GMO. And because of that, it's very diligent. You just have to basically find yourself an heirloom seed and plant your own vegetables. Almost impossible for some folks, but it is getting to the point where you almost have to be more comfortable making your own foods, growing your own vegetables. But dyes, hormones, hydrolyzed protein yeast, MSG. MSG has about 177 different names. You don't even know it as MSG, but it's something. But basically, anything you see in a packaged jar is full of these toxins. At the end of the day, that's what you get when you open up a jar or open up a can.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about the toxins.
Right.
And, it's really important that we start to eliminate those toxins and try to, it's fine for us to put it up on the screen up here, but then it's back to the day-to-day life, and it's really trying to pick one or pick two that you can work your way out of and try to reduce the amounts. And if somebody's really sick, going at it really hard to try to get rid of those toxins is really important.
So let's go from there to deficiencies. All right, now when we think of deficiencies, water is the number one thing you should be thinking about, because water is what makes up 70% of your body, but the population is 70% dehydrated. So that means an awful lot of us here and listening are all dehydrated. It's just hard to pick up a glass of water and drink, isn't it? It's just hard, but it is something that you desperately need.
And people don't understand what that matters, but when you're dehydrated, things aren't moving through your system the right way. So the nutrients aren't moving, the minerals aren't moving. Things just don't function properly when you're dehydrated, which when they don't function properly is when things start to break down.
Another deficiency that almost everybody has? Movement, exercise. We are not the same people that we were 50 years ago. Now we have automobiles, and we park really close to the grocery store, and then we grab a buggy, and we go into that grocery store, and we hurry up and we get our little items. Instead of growing them and pulling the weeds, we pick them up off of a shelf and we put them into our buggies. Exercise is something that's desperately needed in our lives, and we can talk about that for a long time, but we'll keep on going. Sleep. How many of us truly can look each other in the eye and say, oh yes, I get between 6 and 8 hours of sleep every single night? Why is it then that we keep hearing these phrases from people, oh, I'll sleep some other time, that's not important? The studies are proving that if you don't get good sleep, you're not going to live that wonderful long life that you're looking for. It does influence your blood sugar. It does influence your cardiac. It influences so many different parts of your life.
Yeah, and when you sleep is when your body heals and when it detoxifies. So throughout the night, your kidneys are detoxifying, your liver's detoxifying. If you're cutting your sleep short, your body's not going through those detoxification processes that they really need to have.
Another deficiency, spiritual. We need to understand that we are spiritual beings, and that is a big part of our physiology. And if you don't get your connection with your God, then you are missing something very, very serious. I don't care what you eat, without that spiritual connection, you are still deficient in so many important ways. And of course, finally, nutritional deficiencies. We dig our graves with our fork. Bottom line.
So we talk about the water deficiencies, and here are some of the issues and things that happen when we're deficient in water.
Who in their right mind could believe that this small little list, which by the way isn't that small, and there are many more where that came from, but we do have a time restriction, are all because we aren't consuming enough water? Look at that list. Who would have ever expected that my pain in my joint is because I don't have enough water? I thought it was arthritis, but it may very well not be. It may be that we are just deficient in water. Mm-hmm. What happens when you're deficient in exercise? Well, you're pretty much opening the door for many, many diseases, because if your body isn't moving, something else is moving in, and you can see what's happening. Mm-hmm. Failure to exercise is as bad as smoking a pack of cigarettes every day. So here we prided ourselves on never smoking before. Well, I wish it was that simple. But in our lives nowadays, it isn't that simple. We need to make exercise, physical exercise, just as important as our spiritual exercise. You spend your time with your Lord, then you get up and you start moving. That's how it goes.
Well, we try to do it every day before we really get into our day. And we do something that's 30 minutes. Yes, and it's like, oh, do we do it today? But yes, and we feel so much better after we do.
After we hurt. I mean, it does. It hurts in the beginning. It really does hurt in the beginning. And I walk around thinking, my goodness, I feel like a grandmother. But I can bend over. I can touch my toes. I am flexible. And it's only because I'm making it a point to do this every single day. And truth be known, I don't want to, but I have to. And so do you. Sleep deficiency? Who in their wildest imagination would have guessed that among elderly people over 70, those who had less sleep caused 68% higher risk of cardiovascular disease, only because they can't sleep. I don't recommend you go to those over-the-counter recommendations and get those things, but there are some wonderful natural remedies that are available for people that have difficulty in getting sleep. I highly recommend you find those. Uh-oh. She doesn't look nutritionally deficient.
She doesn't look nutritionally deficient.
Are
She's
you
got
sure?
plenty of food.
She does have a lot of food in front of her.
She has plenty of food. And she looks like she's been enjoying her food. But
the truth
is
is,
she really getting nutrition?
Yeah. We do love our comfort foods. When's the last time you bit into a nice big juicy apple? What do you eat when you feel emotionally stressed? Right now, if I were to give you some Kentucky Fried Chicken versus a salad, which one would you really want? We love our comfort foods. Food has become the focal point in all of our activities. It's where we draw comfort. It's gotten sweeter, though, and a whole lot less nutritious than it did even 10 years ago. Food is addictive, but it better taste good, right?
So what is the true purpose of eating? Well, to stop hunger, to enhance growth, energize and nourish the body, and promote health, healing, and longevity.
I don't get it. I thought I was just supposed to chew it and swallow it and make me feel good.
Oh yeah, just feel good, right?
That's food.
But it's actually supposed to be nourishing our body. So when we're eating Kentucky Fried Chicken, are we nourishing our body? No, we're feeding our comfort.
That's it.
When we're eating the salad, we're nourishing our body. We're nourishing our temple at that point.
And the salads can taste excellent. They may not taste like Kentucky Fried Chicken, but they taste very, very good. So what should we eat? By now, I think you've got it. Veggies, fruits, seeds, and nuts. I think we got it.
I think we're there. But we really lost our way.
Well, how many of us will go grab something from the freezer? Or we'll go grab something from the pantry? We'll open up the jar, we'll open up the package, we'll put it in the microwave, we'll stick it in the oven. It's so much more convenient, and by the way, I worked all day, so I deserve this. Isn't that how we feel? We eat a lot of cooked food. Why? Because it's an awful lot of work cutting up that salad, isn't it? Doggone, it takes forever to cut those things up. We consume animal products. We love our sweet tooth. We've gone a lot further away from the garden than we were there how many years ago with Adam and Eve.
But we have a miraculous self-healing body, and God knew what he was doing. Go figure, right? I mean, he knew what he was doing when he made us. And we have this self-healing built into us. And so when we cut our finger and we put the Band-Aid on our finger, does the Band-Aid heal us? No. It creates the environment for healing. And if you took that knife and you cut your finger every day, it wouldn't matter how many Band-Aids you put on, your finger would never heal because you keep cutting it. So the Band-Aid doesn't do the healing, the body does. We break our arm, we put a cast on it. Does the cast do the healing? No. The cast just holds the arm in place so that the body can do its part of knitting the bone back together again. So what happens on the inside of the body? It's the exact same thing. The body wants to be healthy. It wants to mend, but we keep cutting it. Every time we put the toxic food in there, we're cutting it. Just like taking a knife and cutting your finger, eating that Kentucky Fried Chicken is cutting the inside of your body. And why don't we heal? Because we cut it every single day, multiple times every day. How can the body heal when we keep cutting it? It can't. So we have to stop cutting our bodies.
So we would like to offer to you a solution. It's called the Hallelujah Diet. And it's really one of the most simplest things you're ever going to experience. All you do is you consume fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nuts.
We could probably almost get some people to chant that now.
I bet you they
with
would.
us.
They've seen that several times now. What else do we do besides that?
So we want to have 85% raw, 15% cooked. So we'll talk briefly about enzymes, but the raw food is so important for healing the body. And then 15% cooked, some of that is our comfort food, and we want it to be in the fruits, vegetables, seeds, and nut area. But we also need some of that nutrition too from that cooked food. So a little bit of cooked food, mostly raw food.
Keep going. So that one cooked meal that you have, you can have at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We're not that fundamentalistic. What we really believe, though, is you have to have the cooked food when you really want it the most. Some people wake up in the morning, got to have that oatmeal. Let them have it. Some people decide that by the end of the day, they need something as their comfort food, and that's when they want their steamed veggies or whatever. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with cooked food. Nothing at all.
The other thing we do is juices, and we do a lot of juices. And we love vegetable juices. We don't do fruit because they're too high in sugar, and it's a concentration of the sugars that really causes problems. But the vegetable juices feed the body. And you say, so why juice? If I'm eating all these vegetables, why juice? Well, it's really interesting. If we were to have a carrot, and we were to take a bite of the carrot, if we had the healthiest digestive system, we would assimilate only 35% of those nutrients. Those are the nutrients that get to cellular level that would actually do the body some good. Now, Ann was talking in the beginning how she had IBS, and Paul as well. So somebody who has a compromised digestive system, they may be assimilating 10, 15% of the nutrients that are in the vegetables that they're eating.
Most cancer patients are that way.
Most cancer patients have a compromised digestive system. So when we juice it, we're bypassing some of that digestion, and we're assimilating up to 92% of those nutrients that get to cellular level. So when somebody's trying to heal, we need to put high amounts of nutrition into their body. And it needs to be consistent, and that's why we do so much juicing.
So that's part of our diet. We drink 3 glasses of vegetable juice every single day. Every single day. So do we need a multivitamin? Nah. All the nutrition in those juices, and it goes directly into our bloodstream. How cool is that?
So Barley Max is something that is a vegetable juice, which is something that we use. It's actually dehydrated barley and alfalfa juice, and I think Olin will talk a little bit more about that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think he will.
We limit fruit to 15% because we don't want too much sugar. Too much sugar can really have negative impacts on us.
And then you eliminate those 5 killer foods that we talked about. Now, some people are very hardcore. They'll go home tonight. They'll get rid of everything in their pantry, give it away, whatever it is. If otherwise, some people can't really do that. They'll just do it gently. Let's replace one thing every day, once a week. Let's do it. And that's the way to begin that health process.
And one of the things that we really work with is teaching people how to replace. So we still have ice cream. It's just different ice cream. It doesn't have the processed and the sugars and everything else.
Frozen bananas, best ice cream you can ever have.
We have milk, but it's not cow's milk or goat's milk. It's actually almond milk or rice milk or coconut milk. So we still have the things, it's just a little different. And so it's feeding the body differently that really allows us to still have some of the same treats we're used to, but in a different way.
Talk about leafy greens for a minute. We're so used to romaine, we're so used to spinach, but if you look on this list, I urge you to go to your grocery store and find a leafy green on this list that you've never tried before. I really don't care whether you cook it, steam it, just keep the bacon off of it, or if you choose to place it in some of your salads. But every single one of you, I urge you to go and find one on that list and create one beautiful meal with it. And you're going to find it, your body is going to result in, wow, what did you just give to me? It's an awesome feeling, I guarantee it.
And you know, earlier Michael and Paul were talking about all the different vegetables there are out there.
Right.
And there's so many of them.
And look at the colors and the flavors.
And most people don't experiment and don't go there to find them.
If anybody's never had an jicama, I'm telling you now, best vegetable you've ever had.
And so while this list looks kind of boring, watch some of the things that we're able to create from it.
Ooh.
Now this is spaghetti, okay? But it's vegetables.
So that's shredded zucchini, and that's a sun-dried tomato with some portobello mushrooms.
So it's a healthy vegetable or pasta. This one was really good. This is a Philly cheesesteak sandwich, and we went on a cruise several years ago, and we had this on the cruise. We hosted the cruise, and the chef liked this recipe so much he made it a part of their cruise from now on because it was such a delicious recipe. Philly cheesesteak sandwich, but no meat.
And no cheese. That's actually cashew. So it's actually a nut cheese. Delicious.
Oh, cheesecakes.
Raspberry.
Oh my goodness, cheesecakes are wonderful, and we
No
eat them.
dairy, no cheese. These are made out of macadamia nuts.
And it's raw.
It's pretty good.
So I can have that for breakfast even.
How about this one for breakfast?
Oh, chocolate peanut butter pie. We don't use peanut butter, we use cashew nuts,
And we don't use chocolate, we use carob.
but it's incredibly delicious. Oh, so good.
You can have that for breakfast anytime you want. Who says we don't enjoy our food?
We love our food.
So our body's made up of 300 trillion cells, and they die off every single day, and they rebuild at a rate of 300 million a minute. That's an awful lot of work going on in your body every single day. In order for you to create the strongest cells, you need to have some good, strong building material, and that doesn't come from meat and potatoes. It comes from living foods, foods that are directly from the plants, directly from the seeds, directly from the vegetables. That's what makes you having the strongest cells in the world.
So we've talked about science before, and this chart has a lot going on, but it's really quite simple. And what it basically tells you is those countries where you eat a lot of plants have fewer diseases. Those countries that eat fewer plants have a lot of diseases. And where do you think the U.S. is at? The U.S. is over on the far left side, and we don't eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, and we have a lot of diseases. And so we need to do something about that.
So we got to wrap it up pretty quick, but you know who this gentleman is. This is Paul's dad. And not only did he get rid of his cancer, but look at all the other things that he's gotten rid of. And his goal in life was to always have a health minister in every one of the churches.
Yeah. But you know, he's not alone. We've had so many testimonies. Look at that. 18 years, 15 years, 13 years, 15 years, disease-free after changing their diet. It's really remarkable.
The last guy got up out of his wheelchair that he had been in for 5 years because he went on the Hallelujah diet.
It
Praise
really
God.
works.
You can reduce sickness by eating lots of fresh vegetables and fruits and seeds and nuts. Drink your fresh vegetable juice. Avoid eating those killer foods. Drink a lot of water every day. Reduce your exposure to toxins, and I mean spiritual ones as well. And exercise your body. Start moving every single day.
And reduce the stress.
Big one there.
Big
You're
time.
absolutely right.
So can it really be that easy?
It seems kind of odd, doesn't it?
But you know, he had a plan, and he put it in place, and all we need to do it. And each and every one of you have the miracle right within you. You really have all that it takes. You have the knowledge. You have the body that God created. He gave you everything you need to live a disease-free life. But he gave us a choice too. And all we need to do is decide that we're going to eat healthy, we're going to take care of ourselves, we're going to reduce the stress and the toxins that we experience, and we're going to be disease-free. And we love sharing this message, and we have programs on myhdiet.com that you can go up there and just get all sorts of information about.
Thank you so much. We appreciate being here.